Ben & Jerry's decides to come out at 4th of July weekend and make some, I don't know, somewhat controversial statements at a time when, people are celebrating America for the 4th of July. And Ben & Jerry's comes out with a statement that says the faces on Mount Rushmore are the faces of men who actively worked to destroy indigenous cultures and ways of life, to deny indigenous people their basic rights, Ben & Jerry said. This 4th of July, it's high time we recognize that the U.S. exists on stolen indigenous land and commit to returning it. This was on its website and in a tweet. So how exactly you plan to return it, I don't exactly understand. Are they just saying, like, we need to give America back to American Indians? I don't know. So, needless to say, some people are upset. And Unilever is the parent company of Ben & Jerry's. And so far, since this happened, which has only been a matter of days, Unilever has lost $2.5 billion in market cap. And we have a lot of people now that are wanting to go ahead and start boycotting Ben & Jerry's. So, what the heck do you think about this, man? Like, we talked about this briefly earlier, but what is it with brands seemingly trying to make people feel bad? Like, how is that like a thing that brands have gotten into to like want to make people feel bad in some way or affect how they're feeling? What's going on?
That's a great question. I mean, my response when you had sent this out, and I had seen it earlier, and Ben & Jerry's is always like, they're weird dudes. I don't know if you've ever seen them. Like, they're very weird,
super hippie.
Yeah, and they've always been like, and they've been called out plenty of times, like even on national TV, like people have interviewed them and pretty much backed them into a corner, and it just doesn't stop them. Like they're on a 250 acre farm or something crazy in Vermont. Like, I mean, they've just got all this land, all this money. Their ice cream, let's be honest, it is just overpriced. Like, I mean, I've never craved Ben & Jerry's ice cream, but people, it's just this thing that people get on, and the people that you're marketing to and selling to, like, these are just rich people, right? I mean, like most your average middle class people probably aren't buying, a small little quarter pint of Ben & Jerry's ice cream, unless it's on just some deep discount or some sale, right? You're going for the Turkey Hill. You're going with, other brands, that you get more bang for your buck. Yeah. So, but you're just asking. There just has to be a reason. There has to be a reason that all these brands are trying to do this. I don't know what the answer is, but it has to be on purpose. There's no way that Ben or Jerry decided, I'm just going to make this random tweet, thinking that people were just going to accept it and say, you know what, you're absolutely correct. They were just doing it either, I don't know, were they just drunk and decided, hey, we're just going to tick a lot of people off today. And see the comment section.
Mission accomplished.
Forgetting that you have you're only now just a brand under Unilever, which let's dig into what Unilever owns and
everything.
Controls.
Deodorant, everything.
Yeah, I mean, they control a ton of stuff. There's very few companies out there that aren't under one of three major brands. But just to self-sabotage like this, there has to be a reason they're doing it. You can't be that we've just made so much money, now we're just going to speak our minds. Because again, they don't own the brand. They're a parent that, they're just a small portion of Unilever. Let's not, it's not like Ben & Jerry's owns Unilever. Someone else owns them. So there has to be, there just has to be a reason they're putting all this stuff out. I don't know what the answer is, but there's no way that these companies are just self-sabotaging on their own.
Well, I'll tell you, just to give you an idea, Unilever has 400 brands. and they own everything from Axe body spray to Ben & Jerry's to Dove soap, Hellman's mayonnaise. I mean, there's tons and tons and tons of stuff that they own. Vaseline, Sunsilk. I mean, there's just whatever you can think of, they probably have. And so it's just a huge thing. And so, yeah, Ben & Jerry's is just one of their brands. But I did think one of the tweets, I guess, a response to that tweet, a person said, I look forward to the virtue signaling Ben & Jerry's returning their factory's land to the Abenaki and Mohican Native Americans that have lived in Vermont for 10,000 years. Another user said, so basically saying, hey man, we're calling your bluff. You're saying that we need to give everything back to indigenous people. You have a factory sitting in Vermont on what was previously Native American land. So like, what exactly what's your point? What are you trying to get at if you're Ben & Jerry's? And I'm not saying, for the record, almost no one has been treated much worse than American Indians, right? Like clearly a horrible history, a horrible treatment. And even now, most of the ones that are left live on reservations, right? So it's like, it's a terrible situation. Nobody's doubting that. But the idea to come out on the 4th of July and say, America's all on stolen ground and we need to give it back. What would that mean? Like, what are you getting out of that? And, the only thing that this reminds me of is we talked about this on the show a little while back, talking about the Bud Light controversy and everything. And a gentleman named Anson Frerix, who came out, former Bud Light executive, and said that all of these companies are beholden to companies like BlackRock, State Street, all of these different, huge companies, because they're who is deciding where the money goes. And because of that we got into ESG scores and all of that stuff. And, I'm still trying. I'm still going to continue to try to get Anson Frerix to come on the show. We have talked. I have been in communication with Anson about coming on the show. So I'm hopeful. He was responsive to me. You've seen the messages. We have had some back and forth and sent his team some clips and some links and stuff like that. One of the downsides, if you want to call it that, when you have a show called You Get the Horns, we give it to you very straight. And sometimes that makes people nervous, to come on here and have really honest conversation versus the things that are polished and softball questions that might come up in a more mainstream outlet. But look, let's face it, Anson Frerix put it out there. No one was asking for it. He put it out there on his own. So now that he has, again, we would absolutely love, to be able to have him come on the show and kind of give us his take, because this seems like exactly that, right? I mean, what else would it be if they're not financially motivated to do this? What else would it be?
But I don't understand how you're financially motivated and losing billions of dollars.
It's Unilever that lost the money, I guess, not Ben & Jerry's. So I feel like these Ben & Jerry's people are just loose cannons because it's Unilever stock that went down.
Yeah.
Because I just don't understand how it can all work. I need someone who can actually explain it to us. Anson Frerix might be able to do it. Somebody's got to be able to do it, because someone has to be able to explain to us exactly why any brand would do this stuff. It seems ridiculous.
Yeah. And name one country, one continent that hasn't been held by one person and has been overtaken by another. That's how empires and dynasties all were birthed. It wasn't, let's be nice. It was see and conquer. Again, doesn't make it right, but it makes it what it is. I mean, it is what it is. Don't tell me. I'm not sitting here saying America doesn't have like just deep, ugly scars, because it does. Sure. But it's part of what made the country. You learn, you grow from it. But yeah, you want to start giving it back? Start with yourself. Be the first one to say, here's our business. Come and take it.
Yeah.
tear it down or take over it, whatever you need to do. Yeah. Or we're going to give you, 80% of the proceeds and profits from this if you want us to keep the business going. Yeah. it just doesn't.
It's like Ben and Jerry's, put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah.
Like you want to talk about, don't just put out a tweet, do something about it. Tell us what you're doing. Are you donating land and giving it back to indigenous people? Are you donating massive amounts? Maybe they are, right? Let's find out. Are you giving away massive amounts of money to indigenous people so that they can purchase property of their own that maybe they can't afford, but you're willing to step up and help them purchase property for them to be able to establish homesteads on? Probably not, but if so, we'd love to be able to see it. Because I will say that they also, Ben and Jerry's in June, announced that it would no longer pay to advertise on Twitter, blaming what it says is a rise in hate speech. And I'm literally saying this because it's in quotations on here, in hate speech on the platform since Elon Musk took over. In a blog post, the company said it watched the changes at Twitter since Musk bought the social media giant last fall with great concern, writing that hate speech is up dramatically while content moderation has become all but non-existent. Look, I don't spend a massive amount of time on Twitter, but I got to tell you, I personally have just not noticed some massive spike in hate speech since Elon Musk took over. I'm not saying that it's not there. It could be. But it isn't in my algorithm. So maybe if I'm not looking up hate speech, maybe I'm not finding it,
right.
Maybe the Twitter algorithm's actually working, because I've seen a 0% spike in hate speech on my Twitter algorithm since Elon Musk took over. So I don't understand what this debate is. And I see so many people talking about it, but it makes me wonder, what are you looking at and what are you looking for? I just don't understand it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you go looking for it, maybe it's there, but it's not finding you unless you're looking for it. So, and there's been no one's ever quantified any of that and says that it is up or down. Like, how do you even do that? How do you even quantify it? Because again, it's not like it's just popping up on your page, like just randomly. Like, if anything, I see more like left-leaning people pop up on my stuff. Like, I see more of that, and I'll tell you, it's these Krasenstein brothers who just always pop up, and I'm like, I've never liked or subscribed, or like I've never done anything, but they somehow pop up on my page all the time. So I don't get it. So I just don't understand why. Again, you make ice cream. Come on, man. You're not like solving world problems. You sell overpriced ice cream. A gallon of your ice cream, 90% of the country couldn't afford or wouldn't have it in the budget. Not saying they can't afford it, but they wouldn't budget for your ice cream. So
it's considered a premium product.
Yeah, you're just selling to elites anyways. So you are what you are. I mean, what, like, are you doing this to try and like hide the fact that this is what you're doing? Like, you sell really overpriced ice cream to really rich people.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what you're going for. Like they don't even make their ice cream accessible to the vast majority of people based on the pricing. So yet you think that we should give land away to people. So
yeah, you're not selling your ice cream for 2 for $5 anywhere,
Right.
Buy one get one. That's not going on anywhere.
Yeah,
it's like $3 something for just like a little spoonful of ice cream of your stuff. I was like, come on, man, just stop. Ugh. I really wish people would just ignore this stuff and just make them go away. But it's just stuff that just feeds, and people just fuel, like it just feeds into them, and they're just they can't help but respond. I mean, we're doing it, I suppose, but we're doing it for the absurdity of the fact that you're losing your parent company billions of dollars because you're an ice cream company who thinks they're social justice warriors. Like, it's just it literally makes no sense at all.
I mean, totally agree. And I'm actually looking, and I'm not even going to bother reading this whole thing because their actual press release around this was like, the headline is, the U.S. was founded on stolen indigenous land this July 4th. Let's commit to returning it. That's the headline of what Ben and Jerry said. But man, the whole long thing is very, very detailed with a bunch of different paragraphs. The story of Tunkasila Sakpe. And, they're going through piece by piece by piece that they seem to be advocating for America to give away Mount Rushmore, because they end with return Mount Rushmore to the Lakota. The U.S. exists on stolen land. We have to acknowledge that today and every day. In the case of Mount Rushmore, the Supreme Court already did. This July 4th, it's time to return that sacred place to the Lakota. Let's make it a day that embraces freedom and justice for all.
Again, what does that mean? You just like go and give them a deed to it, or
right?
Like, what are they going to do with it? Yeah, what are they doing with it?
I don't understand. And why does Ben and Jerry's care?
Yeah.
I mean, look,
they're in Vermont. What do they care what's happening in North Dakota? Again,
yeah. If you want to send money property to this, yeah, exactly. You have your own property, and you could easily contribute some of it. And guess what? Maybe they're not going to get Mount Rushmore, but maybe there's a really nice mountain on your property in Vermont that you could give away. You know, yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's maybe we're not the right two people to be talking about this stuff, or maybe we're exactly the right two people to be talking about it. I never know which, but you know, it gets silly. It's so just insulting, this idea that like you say this stuff. It's clear, just it's only being done to make yourself look good.
Yeah.
Ben and Jerry's is 1,000,000% unaffected by whether or not Lakota Indians technically own Mount Rushmore or not. It has nothing to do with them at all.
No.
So they find a thing, and that's what so many people do in these situations, and that's kind of why it's so frustrating, is that they find a way, they find a thing that could not involve them less. And they choose that as the thing that they want to take a stand for or fight over or whatever, because it's safe, because it doesn't involve them. And the fact that it doesn't involve them and they're able to do it at arm's length, that's easy for them.
It's easy.
And, you know, so, but again, I guarantee you that there is a rich history of American Indians in Vermont. And I am looking over this statement by Ben and Jerry's, and I do not ever see anything mentioned about Vermont and giving property to any Native Americans in Vermont. Don't know why.
Well, that's weird.
Because they control it. It's theirs. They own that land. So why not do something about that?
Yeah. Let's give them some rocks.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know.
I know. It's exactly what it is. It's just virtue signaling, making yourself look like heroes, social justice warriors. That's all you're doing. Again, you want to prove everyone wrong? Then give your stuff away. Give your stuff back, or compensate the Indians that are still in that in your area. Yeah. And then we can have that conversation.
Yeah, every American Indian should be driving a Bentley in Vermont, based on Ben and Jerry's desire to make sure that they're taking like I don't want to see them poorly treated, but I also don't see how their lives are going to be any better if we gave them a mountain. I just don't see how that does anything for them.
Shaped in mountain that's shaped with the heads
like a big ice cream scoop. I mean, yeah, exactly. Like what would you do? It's like, hey, here's presidents. Like what do you want them to do with that? Why would that be like, that's just like the weirdest thing that you're giving to someone and then they're supposed to be grateful for it. Yeah. And that's the big thing, is that, you know, we've talked about this before about how it's like, you know, people want to get insulted for other people because it's kind of like the implication being, well, you're not smart enough to know that this is bad for you or this is insulting for you. So we're going to step up for you. And it's just like that same type of thing. Like, you're going to do all this and what? Give them a mountain? Forget any mountain. It doesn't matter. And then be like, you know, expect them to be grateful for it. For what? You haven't enriched their lives in any way. Yeah. In any way by giving them this.
Yeah. What are they going to do with it? I mean, they're going to charge people to come in and see Mount Rushmore and take the proceeds from it. Like, I guess, you know, I mean, I guess that's about the best I could think you would do with it. But otherwise, are they going to tear it down? I mean, what? It
doesn't make a lot of sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense. And again, worry about your own state. Worry about your own self. Like, if you're that concerned about it, do something on your property. You've got how many hundreds of acres there? Give them away. Give some away.
Yeah.
You're not going to do that. Let's be honest. You're not going to do that.
No. And, I'm looking at a list here of Ben and Jerry's like political involvement. In October of 2018, Ben and Jerry's announced their new limited batch flavor called Pecan Resist. It was introduced as part of the opposition campaign against U.S. President Donald Trump. Why? Like what? Like why? You make ice cream. Why are you making things to fight against the U.S. president, your own president? Doesn't matter who. I don't care if Republican, Democrat, anything. Why? Why, as a brand that makes ice cream, are you making things to speak out against whoever the president of the United States is? And then, there's so many of these things. In 2021, Ben & Jerry's released a tweet calling for the resignation, impeachment, and invoking of the 25th Amendment against President Donald Trump. And then, let's see, February of 2022, Ben & Jerry's got labeled an activist ice cream brand after they accused U.S. President Joe Biden of fanning the flames of war in Ukraine. And then in September 2022, they rebranded their cold brew coffee flavor to Changes Brewing to highlight the power of black voters and encourage voter participation. Now, who do you want them to vote for? Because you've already been speaking out against both Joe Biden and Donald Trump. So what do you want them to do? Like, why don't you make a flavor that just says "stay home"? Like, what? Don't vote. What? Who can you vote for? There are no good answers, is what you're saying, because you're just speaking out against anyone and anything, and it doesn't seem to matter.
Who are the people that are just hanging on to every single move that Ben and Jerry's makes and going to get? I wasn't going to get ice cream, but now they have a "we're against Trump" ice cream. So now I'm going to go spend $10 on some ice cream. It just doesn't make sense. And again, now you've upset 50% of the population, but
right.
I don't. Again, is this what we're getting to? Is this what they're trying to get to? We may be getting to the bottom. It's like they want every brand to be a label, right?
Right.
So now you
stand for something.
You can identify who a person is by the products that they have.
Yeah.
And maybe that's where this is getting to. I don't know.
You might be right.
I'm drinking, I'm drinking a Bud Light, well, I must be left. Oh, I'm drinking, I'm eating ice cream. I must be, I don't know. I guess I'm left as well. I'm drinking Miller Lite. Well, he must be a Republican, because it used to be anytime you would see anyone drinking a Miller Lite, Bud Light, didn't matter. Oh yeah, they're Republicans. It was just automatic.
Right.
So now we need to really identify, and maybe that's what it's going to come down to. Maybe it is just brand awareness to the point of you now know who a person's affiliation is based on what they have, based on the clothes they wear.
Makes it very easy to break everyone up into groups and manage them all a little bit more easily,
and to cause division, disunity. Well, I'm not gonna hang out with that dude. Look, he's got Ben & Jerry's ice cream.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're not wrong, because I look back and in 2020, after everything had happened with all the George Floyd stuff, Ben & Jerry's publicized a statement encouraging Americans to, quote, dismantle white supremacy and face the sins of our past. Later that month, they endorsed defunding the police. So again, at this point, Ben & Jerry's has spoken out to give Mount Rushmore to American Indians. They've spoken out against both Donald Trump and Joe Biden. They want to defund the police. And there's a million other things that they spoke. So basically, they just don't want government. They want chaos. Like Ben and Jerry's, this laid back Vermont, easygoing hippie thing. They actually are trying to foster chaos. They say Biden's fanning the flames of war in Ukraine, and they want to defund the police, and they want to just do all of these crazy things. And they make ice cream.
Ice cream.
Yeah.
They don't make cars. They don't make guns. They make some frozen milk, essentially.
Yes.
With lots of sugar in it. That's terrible for your health anyways.
Yeah.
Ice cream. Yeah. This is an ice cream company that we're talking about right now. I feel like I'm Allen Iverson here. We're talking about ice cream.
And you know what's funny too is they've been criticized. Unilever has been criticized as well because they're still selling Ben and Jerry's ice cream in Russia. So while so many companies have shut down, and yet somehow Ben and Jerry's has not had a word to say about the fact that their ice cream is still being sold in Russia.
Oh, no.
So they spoke out against their own president for fanning the flames of war in Ukraine.
Yeah.
But they don't mind themselves making money in Russia.
And this is, they had a big thing too with the whole Palestine and Israel. And people were like, and they were like, we're not selling ice cream in Israel. And people pointed out like, yeah, they are. Like, they're just doing it a different way, but they're still selling ice cream. So they're just hypocrites. They're just hypocrites is what it basically boils down to. They're just two old men who have nothing apparently better to do with their retirement than to just stir and cause a whole bunch of trouble. Maybe they're just the ultimate, like, you know, they're just the ultimate trolls. Like, they are the ultimate, you know, trolls, and they're just trying to cause, meanwhile, you know, chaos and everything else. And meanwhile, they're just sitting back laughing that anyone is even paying attention to them at this point.
Right. Yeah, they just can't believe anyone's listening to them.
Yeah.